Well, life certainly deals in unexpected things, right? Unexpected events, wrong turns, detours, getting lost, going out of your way, wondering how you got where you are. 2020, I think, was a year where we collectively all took a wrong turn, or it certainly felt like it. I think we all feel maybe like we're stuck in March, and maybe we'll wake up and it'll be April and we can get back to it. But 2020 is over, and I'm glad to see the end of it. Now, I can't promise you 2021 will be much better, but I hope it will. And that's kind of my point. If this is a year for us to learn to deal with the unexpected, let us learn that lesson. Let us learn that lesson, and let us learn that lesson and how it pertains to our faith. Because the story of Christmas is a story about the unexpected. It's a story about the unexpected child born in Bethlehem, the unexpected turn of events of his life, the unexpected outcome. Yes, of course, the text today is talking about the promised Messiah. So the Messiah was certainly expected. And the text, of course, is talking about Jesus being that Messiah. Luke chapter 2, verse 11, "For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord." Now that sentence rolls off the tongue, particularly in the King James Version. But there are three great titles being applied to this baby boy in Bethlehem there. He is a Savior, which means he will save his people, which means he is a mighty warrior, a military figure, a general, a king who will deliver his enslaved people, once again who have fallen into bondage, once again who are ruled by an oppressor, and he will save them. He is also Christ, which is Greek for Messiah, the anointed one. He is the expected one. And finally, he is Lord, which is a title of divinity. He is God. He is God incarnate. Now I ask you, what would make you put your confidence in this proclamation? What would make you believe this? Babies are born every day. Why would this one be any different? Meanwhile, as this little child is born in Bethlehem over in Rome, the emperor, Caesar Augustus, is busy counting how much he has. And he thinks, it would be a great idea to count everyone in my empire so I can tax them. So he sends out a decree to tax the entire world. Mary and Joseph dutifully up and go to Bethlehem, where Joseph is from, to be taxed. And it's here that Mary gives birth to this expected but unexpected child. And as if to answer the question, what would make you believe this? Her birth is attended by many supernatural signs. The most important being those that we read about, that which we read about in verse 9 of Luke chapter 2. "And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them." Now, some of you may have been cast as the angel of the Lord at some point in the Christmas pageants of years past, either recently here at St. Peter's or decades ago. And we usually think of the angel of the Lord as a cute little child. But the angel of the Lord, often in the Old Testament, was a manifestation of God himself, a manifestation of Yahweh, a manifestation of Jehovah. Particularly in Exodus chapter 3, verse 2, a famous chapter, a famous appearance of this angel. "And the angel of the Lord appeared unto Moses in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed." Another supernatural, a miraculous event. What we have here over the Judean countryside is not a cute little cherub singing, but God himself assuming a visible form to announce the birth of his son. The same supernatural signs that announce the birth of the old covenant now announce the new. And they are meant to tell us that we can and should put our confidence in these signs. We are meant to put our confidence in the revelation that comes from the burning bush. We are meant to put our confidence in this warrior, king, Messiah, and God born in a manger in Bethlehem. But that emperor over in Rome, he places his confidence in something else. He places his confidence in numbers. The purpose of taxing the whole world was to measure how big it was and how much money could be extorted from it. But at this very same moment, at the very moment of that massive power grab, God himself appears in two forms. He appears as angel and baby. He appears as father and son, as if to say, not so fast, Caesar. Actually, what God says is, Fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. The very moment the emperor makes his unholy claim to rule over all people, God announces the good news of his new covenant, which shall be to all people. And so the stage is set this holy night in Bethlehem for a great battle to take place. It's the God of Israel versus the Roman Empire. And this is why the shepherds were so excited, because God himself had landed in enemy-occupied territory, and war on Israel's oppressors was about to begin. But, as I said, things take a different turn. The unexpected starts to happen. Now, the story in the Bible, the story of the Bible that we read, is almost never what you expect it to be. Maybe you think it's an inscrutable book. Maybe you think it's dull. Maybe it's why you don't read it, but have you ever just opened it up and found that it speaks to you? Have you ever heard that a lesson that was read from the pulpit on a given Sunday pierced your heart and said exactly what you needed to hear? And I think the answer is probably yes to that. The expected, but the unexpected. And the same thing happens on Christmas night. Even though the heavenly army makes an appearance, because that's what the heavenly host is, even though they make an appearance praising God and saying glory and declaring peace on earth, the battle is delayed. The battle does not start right away. In fact, 30 years pass before we really hear from Jesus again. Now, it may seem ironic to speak of peace. It may seem ironic to speak of the peace of God, which surpasses our ability to understand it. It might seem ironic, to speak of war and battle on the same night we speak of peace. But the angels were not talking about the peace of Rome. They were not talking about an earthly kind of peace. They were not talking about a peace that was paid for with tax and enforced at the point of a sword. They were talking about the peace of God. Mary seems to realize that something else is actually happening this night. Mary seems to realize what the shepherds are missing. Mary seems to understand that the unexpected is unfolding. Already her own life has not gone as planned, especially since her encounter with that angel, in which her conception happened miraculously. And now here she is giving birth to a child in a stable in Bethlehem. The shepherds are out and about in the Judean countryside shouting, "Hosanna, we're about to be liberated." But Mary, she stops and she ponders and she keeps these things in her heart. Mary knows something. Mary knows that before joy can return to the world, before the fullness of joy can be experienced, the curse of death has to be lifted. Joy is the key to peace. But we cannot know true joy or find lasting peace while we still face death. As St. Paul says, death is our final enemy. Death is the last enemy to be overcome. And Mary knows that all of the joy of this world, even the joy of giving birth to a healthy baby boy, cannot bring peace if that baby boy must die. And so when Jesus says from the cross, "It is finished," what he is saying is that the curse of death is finished. The curse of death has finally been broken forever. And of course, Jesus is living proof of that. So you see, even on Christmas, I have to preach Easter, right? Now, because the curse of death has been broken, our joy can be complete. Our joy can be full. We can finally rejoin God's family as his sons and daughters. And to live with God is to live with him forever. Jesus is the warrior king. He is the Messiah. He is the Son of God. But his life on earth was not quite what anyone expected, except perhaps for Mary. Mary, by faith, allowed God's plan to unfold in her own life and in her son's life. This was not without pain and suffering for her. In the next chapter of Luke, in chapter 3, when the baby boy, Jesus, is brought to the temple to be presented, the old prophet Simeon says to Mary, "This child is appointed for the fall and rising of many in Israel and for a sign that is opposed. But then he makes it personal. He looks at Mary and he says, a sword will pierce through your own soul also. And so it is with the pain and suffering in our own lives, the detours, the messes, the plagues. We must let these things unfold and ponder them with a faith like Mary's. And that doesn't make them any less painful. Swords will pierce our hearts too, but faith in time unfolds their meaning. Mary let her faith unfold. She let it unfold all the way to the foot of the cross. And that cross proved to be the key that unlocked the gates of heaven. But we're getting ahead of ourselves because today is Christmas. And so for now, let us go with these shepherds. Let us take a detour to Bethlehem. Let us, as every mother does, put all our hope and confidence in this newborn baby boy. Let us let his life unfold in our own lives. And let us let God, who for a brief time became like us, make us to become like him.